Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky explores the psychological turmoil of its protagonist, Rodion Raskolnikov, who commits a murder and grapples with the moral consequences. Set in 19th century St. Petersburg, the novel delves into the themes of guilt, morality, and redemption, while portraying the psychological complexity of a man who believes in his own theory of superiority. Raskolnikov is a former law student living in poverty. He becomes consumed by the idea that some individuals are inherently extraordinary and thus have the moral right to transgress societal laws for a greater good. He tests this theory by murdering an old pawnbroker, Alyona Ivanovna, a woman he perceives as a parasite on society. However, the murder does not go as planned. Raskolnikov also kills Alyona's sister, Lizaveta, who unexpectedly walks in on the crime. Following the murders, Raskolnikov spirals into paranoia and guilt. He is constantly tormented by the thought of being caught, while at the same time feeling emotionally detached from the crime. Despite his intellectual justification for the murder, he is haunted by a profound sense of unease and begins to lose his grip on reality. His erratic behavior draws suspicion from others, including the police detective Porfiry Petrovich, who uses psychological tactics to unnerve Raskolnikov. The novel also introduces Sonia, a poor but devout young woman who has turned to prostitution to support her family. Raskolnikov is drawn to her and confesses his crime to her, seeking solace in her compassionate nature. Sonia represents the moral and spiritual path, contrasting with Raskolnikov's nihilism. Through her, Dostoevsky explores the theme of suffering and redemption, suggesting that spiritual salvation can only come through accepting one's sins and suffering for them. Eventually, Raskolnikov's internal conflict reaches a breaking point. He confesses to the police, and after much hesitation, he is sentenced to a Siberian prison. In the novel's epilogue, Raskolnikov begins to experience a spiritual awakening, influenced by Sonia's faith. While he still struggles with his beliefs, the novel hints at the possibility of his eventual redemption. At its core, Crime and Punishment examines the psychological and moral dimensions of crime. Raskolnikov's intellectual arrogance, his belief in the superiority of certain individuals, and his disregard for human life are all put to the test as he grapples with guilt and the weight of his conscience. Dostoevsky raises fundamental questions about morality, free will, and the nature of justice, ultimately portraying crime not only as a legal transgression, but as a spiritual and moral crisis.